Here we are live. Welcome, warrior. I want to get down to brass tacks today, but before we start, let's have a 5x5, a check-in, a shout out. Let me know that you can all hear me and you are here before I start talking. I may never stop. Well, I see you're talking to each other. Gracie loves George. Thank you very much. And Edie for always saying hit the like button because I shouldn't have to remind you that that builds the algorithms for us at the Warriors, puts us in the fast lane of the highway to get ahead of the pack. And we want to make sure that we give you information that I am pretty well convinced a lot of it you are not hearing anywhere else. So give me some 5x5. Edie's there. Okay, 5x5. Lionel Nation, 5x5. Fred jumps right in. Top of program. Fred, thank you very much. Gifting 10 Lynn's Warriors memberships. Exactly what is needed to help us spread all of this information. Let's see. What is going on here? There's Mark. Mark is back. Now, Mark's been here fairly frequently lately. I like that. Mark, that's good news. I just want to get this off the screen and keep going. Let's see what's happening here. Bear with me, everybody, for just a second. I don't know what this is doing, but let's see. Well, we'll just have to leave it. I don't know why this is saying something, but I'm just going to figure it out. Now, Sharon says, thanks for the membership. Thank Fred. Fred is a warrior for jumping in and doing it. This is what means the most to us, information. I got to talk about it. I've got to talk about Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. I know I really have not been talking too much about it because our focus at the Warriors is always on the victims, the survivors, how they're doing. Because remember, any of this abuse, not only from Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, from any sex trafficking, any of this exploitation is a lifelong trauma. People have to understand that. It is not something where you get saved, you get better, you're out of it. It is, as we do our work at the Warriors, I can tell you, it is a lifelong trauma, a lifelong journey. So I want to get into this because I did a hit spot today with Nancy Grace, and that video will be dropping probably in the next hour or so. And it was about Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. I just so happened to last night. Sandy, you can thank Fred. Fred gifted you. I don't know what I was watching in the middle of the night. I think it was something on Netflix about Ghislaine Maxwell, some sort of special. I had one eye open. And these were former acquaintances of her, former friends of hers. And there were certain names, from England and that I recognize things. Because remember, Ghislaine Maxwell, the daughter of Robert Maxwell, and she was traveling all over the country. I remember reading about her 20, 30 years ago, probably 30 years ago, about everything she was doing in New York, and she was a socialite and all the parties and things like that. And now fast forward. How did we get to a place like this? How was Ghislaine allowed with Jeffrey Epstein to do this for so long? What is going on now with this story? Let's break it down a little bit. But what I kept saying to Nancy Grace today, top down. I'm going to leave it at that. You determine what I mean by top down. I just want to, Natasha, you say, save the children, and you're from the UK. Thank you for joining us. I don't like to say save the children because we shouldn't even have to get to that point where we have to save children. This sounds so crazy, doesn't it? We have to save children. We have to protect children. We got to get in there and stop all this horror, this evil that is going on. So I'm like focusing now on, I don't want to slap the Band-Aid on anything. I want to get in there, stop it before it starts, intervene, protect kids, get everybody on board. You have to get on board 2025. So much is going on. I'll share with you. But I understand what you're saying, Natasha, but we want to do better than, yes, we want to save the kids. I'm in agreement with you, but that's the Band-Aid afterward. It's just so overwhelming to me that we have to fight for kids. So let's get back to this Ghislaine. I'm watching this Netflix special about her. And the people were talking, and everybody said she was very flirtatious, and she was, basically arm candy for her father. She went all over with him and he showed her off. And she was very good at reeling people in and friendly and the whole bit. Okay. Now, this one woman, and this story is sticking with me. And if anybody here heard the same story, let me know. Something about they were having a very nice dinner party. This is years ago now. And everybody was talking and the food was nice and the company was nice. And, after it was winding down a little bit, this woman said Ghislaine disappeared. And she came back and she was carrying all these scarves and she said, it's time to play a game. And the game, this woman said she sat there in horror. She didn't know, games at a dinner party. And the game was tying the scarves around all the men's eyes. She directed all the women to take their tops and their bras off and said the men can fondle all the women and then decide whose breasts belong to that woman. Now, I'm sorry to be crass. This is just it. This is the reality. It's what these crazy people are talking about. So that gives you a little bit, I'm telling you this because it gives you a little bit of the mindset of Ghislaine Maxwell. Interestingly enough, people are pronouncing her name so many different ways. Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, was also on with Nancy Grace today, and he calls her Galan. And we've heard Ghislaine, and we've heard other variations. I'll just let that go. But I want to tell you that because, again, it gives you the mindset. She's doing that with adults. So can you imagine with vulnerable kids, girls, how easy she is? A master manipulator. She is a predator. She is a sex trafficker. She is a monster. She is different from Jeffrey Epstein. She was the one who went out and scouted in the car in Florida, going through the trailer parks, we were told, looking for vulnerable girls, and offering them $200 to answer phones, right? $200 to learn massage, 14, 15, 16-year-old girls. Very strange, right? But let's get back to another thing. I know I'm jumping around a lot, but I have a lot to cover with you. These dinner parties right here in New York City where I am. Remember, being in a photo with somebody does not mean you're guilty of anything. And being at a dinner party does not mean you're guilty of anything. I was thinking today as I was sitting, waiting for my turn, as we say, the expert panel on Nancy Grace, and I was thinking, here's the thing, dinner party, they couldn't get to Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. I remember when that house on 71st Street was a school. And it was bought up in the early 90s by Les Wexner, who was the owner, the brand behind, Victoria's Secret and some other big brands. I remember he had a big store on Madison Avenue I used to walk past. But people, women were going. Ethel Kennedy, I believe, went. Katie Couric. I mean, all people like to be around people with money. And this guy was known around town, Jeffrey Epstein, as having a lot of money and living in the single biggest one family home. I don't know how else to put it. Remember, it was an old school on 71st Street. I believe it was 9 floors. He may have renovated that into 7 floors, but it was something like 40,000 something square feet. So if you know anything about square feet, that is huge. Okay. So of course, people are jumping at the opportunity to go and be, you know how it is. People love to rub elbows with celebrities and people with money and get in there. So it doesn't make them guilty of anything. But I was sitting there thinking today, that's when Ghislaine, who was a very good hostess, a friend of hers even said when she and Jeffrey, who at one time were boyfriend and girlfriend, broke up, she remained on the scene almost like the wife doing all the duties of a wife. They just weren't an item. And a lot of these people in this documentary were saying, oh, they expected them to get married and they didn't. But she stayed on Ghislaine. Think of her mindset, procuring these girls, seeking them out, doing everything Jeffrey was telling her. So I'm thinking, oh, they were scoping out, vulnerable people at that time at these dinner parties. Remember, if you're tough or you question or, that's not welcome. But if you're, I dare say, weak, vulnerable, and who's not vulnerable these days, right? That's where Ghislaine would make her move, the accomplice to Jeffrey Epstein. But I am just gobsmacked in knowing some of these victims of Jeffrey Epstein. and talking to them, especially when the story broke, right? I feel like we've been living with the Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell story forever. That, first of all, I don't know what you believe. I'm curious, but it looks like if you remember his jail cell, first of all, we never had any photos of him in his jail cell. Family program here, algorithms. I think you know what I'm talking about. And then we saw piles and piles of orange. It looked like reinforced paper towels. They called them sheets. But why did he have so many of them, right, in his cell? But we never saw any pictures after the deed. I'll put it like that. Then he was apparently no longer living. And I do remember questioning, they put an oxygen mask on him or something, taking him out of the jail. And I thought, why are they even doing that when he's obviously gone? Let's fast forward. So we're never going to really know what happened to him in that jail cell. But things are looking pretty murky. And, do they think I'll just leave the they, whoever they are, do they think we are stupid? Because this story was somewhat quiet. And then all of a sudden, Pam Bondi was showing up with binders that she said she created. She had influencers, I think it was the lawn of the White House actually hold up these binders. They were kind of sidetracked. I believe they were there for something else. And these binders, where she said it's so horrible, the information, and it's just awful, and somebody else was being shaken to the core, and she's got everything on her desk, and she's going to release it. And then Pam made a mistake, because she opened her mouth and made a lot of promises, and then all of a sudden, case done, nothing to see here, let's go. I don't know what transpired there. I think it's a pretty good guess, though. Top down, that's all I'm going to say. You figure out what that means, whatever it means for you. This is such a complicit crime. In the meantime, I want to keep putting the focus on the victims, the survivors of these monsters, Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, and all the other people that were involved, because there were so many involved we never even heard about. There are probably thousands of girls and young women who passed through their hands, through their networks, I'll say. Remember, he had that ranch in New Mexico, Jeffrey Epstein. We barely ever heard about that, right, with the landing strip. He had that island, right, where he would take that Lolita Express. Now, if that isn't, a giveaway, he also had this very large, you can't even call it a townhouse or something. This is an old school converted into a single-family home. And he also had an apartment in Paris. And we never talk about that, because that is where I always heard, remember, I don't have proof, and I'm not a lawyer. I don't pretend to play one here either. I always heard through his modeling contact that Jacques Brunel, who is no longer with us, if you know what I mean, this is where these young girls, 11, 12, 13, were coming through Paris, sex trafficking. It makes a lot of money, right? A lot of money. They even confiscated in Jeffrey Epstein's 71st Street, New York home. And the FBI did put out these pictures when they did this, great big siege they did. These bins, these big plastic bins. And these bins, one says kiddie porn, one says young, one says younger, youngest. And I always wondered, and I would bring it up all the time to Nancy Grace, like, there was so much money in pornography, children, was he doing that in addition to make money? But I think it's safe to say when we hear about 5,000 or thereabouts transfers to one person in some oligarch in Russia, and all kinds of millions, I believe it's billions. Where did that money come from? Children, sex trafficking, photos, pornography, blackmail, perhaps? And for our government to all of a sudden shut this down and say nothing to see here when they whet everybody's appetites is unbelievable. I'm going to please pass the pepper. Thank you very much. Spread the message. Protect our children. Absolutely. That's what we do at the Warriors every single day. As a matter of fact, beginning tomorrow, I'm hitting the road for well over a week doing exactly that. I'll keep you apprised of what's happening from traveling to a lot of different places and ending up next week in Washington. But anyway, let me get back on this. This story is unbelievable. Okay? There are so many people who would want Jeffrey Epstein just gone. It would be so much easier, right? Now we have Ghislaine. Ghislaine, who I laid it out for you, is a creep, is a monster, is a trafficker, convicted felon, put in, this high security in Florida. And then all of a sudden she is singing like a little birdie. Thank you, Carla, the cooking CEO, the true definition of a predator. I would like to know more about Bill Barr placing him in society. Carla, that's a good question. We can't even get there. There are so many questions with this. And it's really hitting me today, not only because we were doing an extensive show with Nancy Grace, but also because it's just out of this world what our government is telling us. I mean, do they really think the American public is so stupid that all of a sudden now there's a minute missing of a tape? Now it's supposed to be there's 8 minutes. Did anybody hear that? 8 minutes missing of a tape? And then at 10:30 something at night in the jail where Jeffrey was, there's this orange blob, fuzzy, but appears to be, from a lot of experts, a person. They tried to say, oh, it's somebody delivering laundry because they wear these orange jumpsuits. But it's not. We had a prison expert who actually used to work in that facility. And he said today, they're not delivering laundry at 10:30 or thereabouts. Pretty much at 9 o'clock, it's locked down. Everybody's in their cells. Nothing's going on after roll call. We're not having any of this. And we see, the two guards who are supposed to be checking on him. One fell asleep, they said. One's shopping on the internet. Everything is a mess. So now there's no Jeffrey. We got the Ghislaine. Remember, she was gone for a long time, and then she was found on some mountain in New Hampshire. This is a very complicit crime. Think about all these things. Like they didn't know where she was. So they finally catch up with her. And she goes away to prison, and she gets moved in the dark middle of the night to a very cushy Club Fed, as they call it, in Texas. Now, I want to understand how this sex trafficker, abuser of girls, of young women, who I believe, again, I'm not a lawyer, you're not allowed to be moved to a place like that. You are supposed to be in a high security facility. She did what? Pam Bondi today said, well, I'm thinking about releasing the interview. They spent 5.5 hours with her, asking her questions about 100 people. Why was she moved to this facility? What did she have to say? Obviously, it's a reward for something. Here's the thing. Will she be the next Jeffrey? Because this facility, if you look at it, they don't have fences. I understand it's a dormitory-like atmosphere. You can get up, you can leave. You don't have locked doors. You can work in the community if you want. Now, she's a sex offender, a sex trafficker. She shouldn't be working around kids or anything like that. Then also, she can go out jogging, because I saw that Elizabeth Holmes, remember her from Theranos, raising all that money, and she basically had a shoebox with a pinhole in it and said it was in some groundbreaking reading something. And I saw her jogging around lifting weights today, and they can play tennis. I also found out there's a very high end. You also have one of the housewives there who committed some money laundering, or she stole money, something like that. High end store there where they can buy beauty products, hair products, all the luxurious things they need. Why is Ghislaine in a facility like that when she abused so many? And not only that, let's flip this around. Will she be the next Jeffrey? Because there doesn't seem to be a lot of security there. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Now, wait a minute. Let me go back here. What is this? Claudia says, had to run quickly to the grocery store, saw a child looking for his mom. I told the manager right away. They called her on the PA. Now, did they find the mom? Do we know what's happening here? Claudia, keep us of what's going on here. So I'm thinking about two-tier justice system. We've got all these victims, survivors. I don't even like those words, but that's what we use, of these two monsters and all of their associates, friends, whoever these people are. Now, we do know today it also broke that subpoenas went out for, 10 or 12 people, such as Hillary and Bill Clinton, Comey, Mueller, a couple of AGs. So we'll see what's going on with that, to answer questions about the Epstein files or their involvement with Epstein, something to that effect. Oh, Claudia says they found her. I was staring at her with a menacing face. So I think I missed something. Who were you staring at, Claudia? Did I miss something? Maybe I missed one of the comments. Well, you'll fill us in. So are we going to get anywhere? Because, with Jeffrey Epstein gone, right? Like, a lot is gone with him. And that's been a while now. Now we have Ghislaine. What could she possibly tell about 100 people that somebody doesn't already know? Why is she allowed to be running with Elizabeth Holmes, and playing tennis? What do you think these victims and survivors think when they hear and see all of this? This is exactly why our justice system needs reform. Victims are mostly ignored, not believed, and just don't ever want to come forward in fear for their lives, or just perhaps want to forget any of this even happened. But we must hold those accountable who caused this harm. And on this scale, I still want to know about who booked flights, who, did the bills there. The story of the Dubins. Does anybody remember the Dubins here in New York? It's a wealthy family. And they were joking around saying, oh, our teen daughter was I think she was 11 or 12 or 13, something young like that. They were going to marry her off to Jeffrey, or for some financial reason. But then it's a big joke. But then I see a video of a girl who looks to be no more than 11 or 12 leaving Jeffrey Epstein's house on 71st Street. And he goes out the door first. Did anybody see that video? And she peers out, these big, double doors. Remember, it's a school, these big school doors. And this slight little girl then walks out after him. And he puts her in a car. Who is she? Who are her parents or guardians? Where did he bring her? What is going on here? What happened on that island? Right? We had Bill Richardson, New Mexico, right? Remember him? He just disappeared. A lot are complicit. What could make somebody billions of dollars? Sex trafficking, weapon trafficking, drug trafficking. But I got to go with the trafficking of children. It makes, as law enforcement tells me, rivals the drug trade in monies, and it's easier than the drugs. Getting back to Carla, your question about, Epstein and the Dalton School, we'll go there, with Donald Barr and then Bill Barr. Too coincidental, isn't it? And then also, a long time ago, when this was breaking, so he shows up, Jeffrey Epstein, Dalton, a very prestigious school here in the city, very tough to get into, very snooty. It was. I don't know what it is now, probably still the same. And people would say, as soon as my child's born, I'm going to try to get on the wait list for this school. How did he go, college dropout, to teach math and science into a school like that? Did nobody question him? And then I read something the other day, Donald Barr really wasn't the one who hired him. This is a small school. I'm sure the headmaster, I think that was his title, knows who his employees are, his teachers, right? And I also heard one time, which I never heard again, I read it. He would show up, the teenagers, on weekends when kids have parties, he would show up at the teenagers' parties and try to party with them. That's sick. You know it. I know it. Yeah, Hillbilly says, if justice can be bought and sold, it is worth nothing. But that's right. It's like money talks, crime walks. I know it sounds, crass to say it like that. This is it. Top down. Money talks, crime walks. But why, even after 2008, when Jeffrey Epstein was convicted in Florida, and there were still so many whispers like around New York? I don't even know. His name would come up periodically, and they'd be like, oh, yeah, him with the girls, him with the little girls, right? I just saw him once coming out of Bergdorf Goodman's men's shop on Fifth Avenue, weighted down by some shopping bags. It's all so creepy, but it's further complicated and compounded by what our government is doing right now. I have to say something about this. Why did Pam Bondi open up this can of worms? Anything valuable is being held somewhere by somebody in a powerful position that we're never going to really know about. Jeffrey's gone. Ghislaine, we don't know her fate. I don't think it's that good, frankly, because if she wasn't around, then a lot of this would just die down. So what's going to happen now? So now we have these subpoenas. I can't go through, as we do for child exploitation, all of this trafficking, summits and conferences. Yeah, they're all good. I was just talking to my friend about this recently. Yes, we participate. Anytime you can get in a room, you can network, say your 2 cents. You never know what comes from it. So we must continue that work as we do at the Warriors. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of having to fight for what's right morally, physically, children. Why is this so hard? And now we have this Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine at the country club prison. I don't even want to call it a prison. I'm going to call it the country club. She doesn't deserve to be there. She'll buy her high-end hair products. She's laughing at everybody. She obviously made this deal to be transferred to a place like this. And what's going to happen here? And now we also have Pam Bondi saying, oh, maybe today, maybe I'll release the interview tape. Like, what good does that do, everybody? What good does it do the survivors? Let's focus on them. This is why they will not come forward. Look at the track record with the brave ones that did come forward. With Jeffrey Epstein, you really only know about a handful of them, one being Virginia Giuffre, who's no longer with us. Others, Annie Farmer, we have Teresa Helm, so brave to tell their stories, and they have to witness this, always look over their shoulder. It's not right. I mean, it is not right. What kind of deal? We demand answers. But again, we're going to have a congressional hearing where things go to die. Now, maybe I shouldn't be saying things like this, but on the Warriors, we're very real. Got to tell you the way it is. We did a couple of these congressional hearings with whistleblowers with big tech, with Edie, member for 11 months. We were behind you 100%, Lynn. Thank you, Edie. You're one of my biggest and longest, one of my longest warriors. You were with us right from the beginning. So thank you for that. No, but here's the thing. What do, Carla's weighing in. Thank you, Carla, so much. So many questions and no one has answers. Well, Carla has the answers. We're just not getting them, right? That's why I say top down. Was this a blackmailing operation? How many in power are complicit? I dare say it is such a tangled web of the government shut it down, nothing to see here. But how insulting is that, right? That we've gone through all this. Survivors have gone through all this. I'm going to remind you again, it's not just about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. It's about all survivors of exploitation witnessing this circus, right? Why is this allowed? Because so many are complicit. I have to talk about it. I have to bring it forth. Ghislaine Maxwell does not belong in that cushy club fed, as they're calling it. I don't want to call it a prison or a jail because there are no gates or anything like that. You can come and go, and you can go to the library and read books. And, I believe you can go get your hair done. And then what kind of prison is this? After she abused so many and thought nothing of it. Not only did she, procure girls for Jeffrey Epstein. It was that same old story, going to teach them a massage, and then the girls alone or the young woman in the room, and Jeffrey does what he does to them. And then she many times came in and also, we have testimony, attacked girls. alone, and together, she and Jeffrey, these sick people. So now we're going to have a congressional hearing. It'll go on and on. It'll be a lot of nice sound bites, for Fox News, CNN, maybe. Nothing will come of it. Just like the ones we had with the parents. Let me get back to that with big tech, where we had actual whistleblowers who worked in big tech companies and said that they on purpose, they go after kids. Kids are the product, dangerous algorithms. We have all the studies. They just want to addict your kids, keep them online, future customers for the rest of their lives, get them to buy things, narcotize them, isolate them. And COVID was a really great gift to everybody to do this to our kids. And then we had even the big tech, Mark Zuckerberg, who Senator Kennedy said, you apologize to the parents. Parents are always in the room of these hearings holding pictures of their children. It is the most heartbreaking, awful thing. They wear them on shirts, they hold up, and he asked Mark Zuckerberg to apologize, and as it was the most watered down kind of F you, excuse my language, everybody, I ever heard in my life, and nothing came of it. And that was at least close to 2 years ago now. We've had so many different things going on. We had the Facebook whistleblower. Nothing is changing. Just today I was notified we're gearing up for artificial intelligence, the moratorium. Right now we've staved off things, but we're gearing up because, as you know, Congress is now in recess till I think it's September, right after Labor Day. So they're all off swimming, sunning, whatever they're doing. And we're working hard. We go nonstop at the Warriors. That is where, your donations go towards, volunteering goes towards. But let me stay on track here. But they're off having a good time. But right after we're gearing up, we're having our meeting next week. Many advocates from around the country about AI. This is going to be a fight because the Trump administration has made it very clear they want global dominance in artificial intelligence. Now, I really think you can have global dominance, if that's your thing, and guardrails for kids, but call me wacky. But it seems like that guardrails for kids part is just not being addressed, is not being talked about. Or if it is, people stare at you like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm talking about people in Washington right now. This is going to be a long, drawn-out fight. This is something when I put the call out, and it's going to come. Well, here, Sandy asked a question. With all this corruption, what can anyone do? Despite everything I'm telling you and sharing with you, we still have to be warriors. We still have to remain committed. We still have to, as much as we can, think about our own circle, okay? Our own family, our own environment, our own community. You have to think about it like that. I'm telling you the big picture because that trickles down to all of us, right? And knowledge, you have to know what's going on. But we can't give up because I hear that so much. Why bother? What can we do? Do it in our own environments. I am begging you. I am urging you. That will make the difference, right? That will be preventing, intervening, knowing, talking to your kids about these issues. Like, big tech, all these games, they just want money from you. Like, tell the kids the reality. It's up to you when you buy your child a phone, a game, a Chromebook, iPad. A lot of little kids are on iPads. I'm seeing 4, 5, and 6-year-olds on iPads, in a restaurant or something. Now, we've got to start making sure things are locked down. If you're going to use the devices, you've got to have some guardrails, right? There's even companies like Bark, B-A-R-K. I promote them. I don't get anything from it. They alert you if anything compromising is coming over your child's device. It's very well worth a couple of bucks a month for safety. There's a program for little kids and there's a program for older kids. We got to do these things. It's the world we live in. We have to not, here's the thing. The criminals, the predators, the same old story. They want to overwhelm us. They don't want us to speak up because then they can carry out their business as usual. That is their goal. And they're winning. I'm telling you right now. I've never seen anything like what I am seeing in the last 6, 8 months going on. They are winning because people are exhausted. People don't want to address this. People just say, what can I do? The government's not doing enough. It is, the government's about legislation, right? They work for us, remember, right? The White House is, our house. Okay? Remember, they work for us. There is so much red tape. When I hear Congressman Chris Smith out of New Jersey, 45 years he's been in Congress, but doing amazing work. I hope to bring you, and I mean it when I say amazing, I hope to bring you, I'm in the process right now of scheduling an interview with him right here on the Warriors, and I'll tell you why. Well, first of all, he's from my home state, New Jersey. Second of all, 45 years, impeccable with human trafficking. He started the first piece of legislation in 1999. It was never a crime, human trafficking, before that. He started all of this. He is passionate about all of this. This poor man this great piece of legislation has to go back, like every 2 years and get it reauthorized and beg for them to sign on to it. It hasn't been signed on since 2021, I believe. So we're constantly fighting in Congress to get things reauthorized, okay? Why? If there's a good piece of legislation, why can't we let it stand? Especially now. Even if we amend something or do something, in 2024, 25, 26, because we know so much more than we knew in 2000. Let that stand forever. Why do we have to keep going back to get things reauthorized? I just told you, since 2021, Congressman Chris Smith is waiting to get this. It has to go up the chain. It's a process. I get it. We get it. But it's children. So when you say, what can I do? It is if you see somebody in a supermarket. It is the story I told, I think, last week. That I heard the woman say she was in a Target. I believe it was a Target. And she saw a strange man kind of lurking in the toy aisle. And he wasn't with a child, and he wasn't holding any toys, or didn't have the basket with him. And he saw kind of two girls. And she just noticed. And she kept on it. And finally she went up to them. And she went up to the older one, who she said was a young teen, and just said, who are you here with? Where's your mom? And she said the girl was kind of like a little shocked because it was a stranger. And she just said, my mom went into the bathroom. And the woman's like, okay, I'm going to take your sister's hand. We're just going to walk to customer service. And we're going to do that. And the man was still lurking and following them. But she saved them. Because as it turns out, she said the guy had a walkie-talkie, it looked like, in his hand. Then she noticed another guy at the door with a walkie-talkie. And customer service said, they don't work for us. We don't have security here like that. We have theft, damage control, or somebody runs out from the back or something. But we don't have men with walkie-talkies. And she said it was the most evil smile. She walked them with some employees from the store, walked them to their car, and she stayed with them. And guess what? The one guy lurking the whole time actually was in a white van, believe it or not. But I'm always saying it's not always that white van. This guy was actually in a white van parked next to this woman and her two daughters. And the woman said, you know what? That van was there when we pulled in. So we know we have an increase as well. And the guy drove off and just smiled at the other woman who helped, took the girls to customer service. She said it was the most horrible smile. And he pulled out of the spot slowly, smiling at her, and then picked the other guy up. So they were a team of traffickers, kidnappers, whatever you want to call them, criminals. We do have an increase of kids actually just being picked up, stolen from supermarkets, stolen from parks, stolen from their front lawns. Now, do you think media is talking about it? Because I'm not hearing anything about it. So we have all these issues. And when there's no accountability, people are crazy. They try anything. I'm here in the middle of New York City. Okay? Well, maybe not a good example, but they went crazy here. CVS, go in with suitcases, I'm not exaggerating, and just take their arm, take every Dove body wash off the shelf, every Pantene shampoo. Nobody stopped them. So they do more and more and more of it. So now we have children, precious little children. And this is allowed? And we have our government telling us nothing to see here with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine. We're never going to get to the bottom of that story. I think we should accept it. I think we should accept we don't know. that it is some sort of blackmailing of world leaders, perhaps, something of that effect. Tapes with children, young girls, we don't know. But now we're going to have a big circus and hearings and this and that. But in the meantime, we have to fight for safe housing. The foster care system is a disgrace, is disgusting, must be I don't even know what to do. It has to be taken apart, just destroyed, like it's destroyed now and rebuilt. Because the facts about foster care that for years people have said, I know, it's awful, it's horrible. Do you know our government last year had a budget of $5.3 billion for the foster care system? Can you imagine if I was in charge of that 5.3 billion? Where's the 5.3 billion? Because foster care, over 60% of the kids end up in sex trafficking. Did you hear what I said? In sex trafficking. Families are split apart. Siblings. Exploited. Most kids don't graduate high school. It's something like 20% coming out of the foster care system will graduate high school. Over 50% end up, because when they're 18, they're just, dropped off, kicked out. Here's your toothbrush, hit the road, kid. Where's the transition? Now, there are some groups and organizations helping them find housing, very little. So if we had that 5.3 billion, we could be building safe housing, transitional, because we want people to get on their feet, right? Go to school, work, make their own, right? Their own self-worth. We do know that 50% end up through the foster care system. And remember, the numbers are always higher. This is what we know about. They end up incarcerated, drug addicts, sex offenders themselves. It's horrible, horrible. And we're putting billions of dollars into this. So I want reform for that. But getting back to who's overseeing all this, who's looking at all of this. I'm tired of hearing, even now, the administration's trying. They've only been in, 6-7 months. I understand that. It doesn't seem like the kids are a priority right now. I have to be honest with you. We have to be there for the kids. And if it's in your home, that's good enough. It starts with talking to your kids. You've got to talk to them. You've got to also put the devices down, including yourselves, 15 minutes a day. You start there, work it up to an hour. We talk about foster care. I know I'm jumping around everybody, but I can't help it. There's a lot coming out of me. That goes back to, my friend Jan pointed it out when I was discussing some things with her. Jan, wonderful organization, Jan Edwards Paving the Way Foundation, by the way, doing terrific work in Florida. She has boots on the ground. She works with kids. She works with law enforcement. She works with families. She's doing it all. And she does a lot also on the federal level. And just don't get in her way if you happen to be marching the halls of Congress with her, because she will just bulldoze you over and hit every office and leave you in the background because she's powerful. But she said to me, it's about the family when I talk about foster care. And that's true. How do we fix families? How do we fix the broken families? I was very lucky growing up in New Jersey. My mother was home every day. I'm sorry. I don't care. Somebody says something to me. I mean, people write me horrible things anyway, sticks and stones. I don't care. My mother cooked a home-cooked meal every day. She, helped us with homework. She did all these things. I was very lucky because doing this warrior's work, I realized how lucky I was because so many kids don't have that foundation. They don't have a safe space, right? A meal. How about we send 1 in 4 kids in America to bed hungry at night? It's disgusting. Why aren't we talking more about that? Why isn't there a national campaign, Every Child Fed? I mean, I had to basically look at all these illegals in my city here getting pallets of food because I saw it in front of these hotels they got for free. And our children are going to bed hungry. I don't want any kids to go to bed hungry. I don't care what country they're from, but our kids, right? Our kids should have had those $100 sneakers I saw on kids' feet. Okay, I'll let that go for a minute. But I want us to keep on top of this story. Your voice is very important, especially everything, I think, with big tech. child safety can be wiped out. Any kind of legislation, talk about it. I mean this. I don't know how many people agree with me, but because we have AI now, artificial intelligence, that will supersede anything. So when we work on this moratorium coalition, that's happening beginning September 18th. We've already been working on things, and we ask you to sign on. When I put out a Warriors Take Action, and I ask you to put your name and zip code, you have to do it for us. We need representation across the country. That is something you can help with. It takes 3 seconds. We need it. Second, take a breath, take care of yourselves, take care of your families, because all of this is still going to be here, right? All of it. And life is just passing us by. I will be in Washington next week, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm emceeing the Virginia Attorney General is doing a human trafficking summit. Now, they may never invite me back when they hear what I have to say, respectfully, because enough is enough already. We know what's wrong. We need to put the people who know what they're doing, which is frankly my goal with the White House, groups you may never have heard of, people you have never heard of, who know how to plug in what I like to call the holes and get the work done. And they need the resources. And we need our survivors taken care of. We need, I believe, in transitional housing. We don't want people stuck in housing for the rest of their lives, but that means creating a program. That means having somewhere for them to go to school, go to work, job training. They have to be able to earn $1. So this is a full wheel, a full circle of what needs to be done. But I need you to join me from across the country, from across the globe, because this exploitation, this slavery, we're talking about slavery in the United States. Can you believe it? Is escalating. AI will make it worse. People are closing their eyes. They don't want to address it, except when it happens to them or their children. Then they do want to address it. We need to look out for our neighbors. You're in a store, a supermarket, a department store. Do we call them that anymore? I guess store, any store. Be on the lookout. I mean, don't drive yourself crazy, but if you see something, usually your gut tells you, right? We have to stick together. We have to empower each other. People have become very mean, nasty. Why? Don't you feel good if you hold a door for somebody? Don't you feel good if you just smile at somebody? Don't you feel good if you say, oh, you first, or something? It's a little thing. So our children are witnessing it. Remember, our children are future adults, our future American leaders. So we want to show them. I always say to my husband, when we talk about certain things, I'll always say, how should I phrase this? I always try to do the right thing. Even if it seems like I was done wrong by somebody, I always try to take the high road. I always do take the high road because it makes me feel better. I know I gave it my all. I took the high road. Let them be miserable. I did the right thing. I want everybody to think like that, even if it is a situation that makes you feel, that person is in the wrong. You take the high road. And then you learn from, you don't want to hang around miserable people. That's infectious, right? Good people make you feel better. Bad people make you feel bad. We want to be with the good. And with that, we have a wonderful, if you're in the, I'm telling you, we have a beachside fundraiser tomorrow coming up in the Hamptons with our great allies, the Wonder Girls, the teen empowerment group. And I can't wait. We're going to go out to the beach. The girls are going to talk about all of their community service they do, all of the work they do with their peers, because remember, peer to peer. I can't really resonate with a 15-year-old. Let's face it. But if another 15-year-old talks to another 15-year-old, it resonates and can create change. So I can train. I can bring forth the materials. I can bring the information. I can engage the teens and middle school girls. I can empower them. And this group of Wonder Girls based right now in New York and New Jersey are the finest example of, they come from all over. We have every different skin color, doesn't matter. They empower each other and tremendous success. So some of the original, they started in 2020. So some of the original Wonder Girls are now going into college, and to see well, actually, look on this channel. I have an interview with them I did last week. One going to nursing school, one going into law. And truly, the way they talk and present themselves, find examples of young women that we want to show off because we're only hearing about all the bad ones. So, look, if you happen to be in New York, New Jersey, you happen to be out in the Hamptons, it'll be convenient for you. Come on over and see us. Come join us. Feel good. We'll have some great food, talk, discussion, and you'll be a warrior. And next week, looking forward to, I have a trip in between that, but looking forward to Washington to really talk to these AGs and see what's going on and see how they're going to create change. But I will tell you something, a lot is happening more successfully at the state levels across our country than at the federal level. So if that is what's happening, we have to focus, no matter where we live, on our state, right? And bring that work, our work, to the state, okay? Because the federal government right now, they want global dominance. It doesn't seem like our kids are fitting into that right now. So we'll take it into the community, we'll take it into the state, and we'll get things done. And let's see what else I have to say. Fred, no, thank you for always being so supportive. I want to make sure, Carla, the cooking CEO, I got everybody on here. Edie, 11 months, Edie. Edie, I hope everything's going well for you. Keep us posted about things. Let's make sure I don't skip anybody on here. Of course, we have this little... Here we go. Please pass the pepper. Thank you very much. But I want all of you to understand there's a lot of hope. First of all, you have the warrior here. You have the warriors. You have the Wonder Girls, okay? You have a lot of passionate people who are demanding change, who are making change, who are boots on the ground. We've got our coalition across the United States. Good people doing this good community work. So let's stick there and build on the states and the communities and create that change at home. I mean, I'll duke it out with the government on everybody's behalf. But in the meantime, let's keep it in the house. Let's keep it in the state, right? In our town. And with that, I want to say also that I'll end with, one of our warriors, Norma Nazario, right here in New York. There's actually, I posted on my Facebook and X. I still call it Twitter. But Norma lost her son, Zach, to subway surfing. He took a TikTok challenge. Whatever happened to TikTok? Remember that? They got all these reprieves from the president. China, this, that, and the other thing. I feel like I got to follow up on that. What's going on with TikTok? But I always maintained, don't pick on one platform. You would have to pick on every platform because every platform is abusive. Every platform has dangerous algorithms, not just TikTok. I don't want to hear about China. They're all dangerous. But anyway, I want you to read Norma's story. I'll put the link in the body of this video, but I also, as I said, have it on my Facebook and X. I'll be appropriate X account. How this seemingly shy woman, Norma, when this happened to her 15-year-old son, always a good kid, straight A's, brain's not developed, went with his little girlfriend. We don't understand here in New York with the subway cars. There's always been subway surfing. But the kids seeing it on TikTok now and being challenged to do it, that's harmful. That's dangerous, okay? But when you go in the subway cars, if you haven't been in them, you can just slide open the door and kind of, you see the tracks and stuff and hop onto the next car. It's very dangerous. We don't understand because other countries have, when it's in motion, those doors are locked. Like you can't go between cars. So we don't know why nobody does this here in New York. And obviously, if there's an emergency or something, everything opens. But we're not understanding simple things like that. Why? When a car is going 80, 100 miles an hour, those doors don't lock and kids can jump from car to car. And they go out between the cars and then they climb up onto the roof. And Zachary, her 15-year-old son, hit his head. And that was the end. But here's the kicker in all of this. Of course, she's devastated, her pride and joy. I want you to read her story. I'll put the link. It's in People magazine this week, but she's been all over the news because guess what? He got hit in the head. I'm sorry, it's a little gruesome. Killed instantly on the tracks, and he got run over by the train. That is the reality of this young boy, the beginning of his life, taking a TikTok challenge, and this is what happens to him. His phone was found intact, wasn't even broken, cracked, nothing. And they handed the mother the phone. And that's how she went through the phone and started finding out what he was thinking. He took the challenge, all these things she never knew about. She bought him the phone. He's a teenager. How we stay in touch. He wanted Instagram. She didn't know. She didn't know. So the point of this is Norma has become a tremendous warrior to speak out and educate, because I hear that all the time. I didn't know. I wish I knew. Nobody told me. Norma has taken her pain and is creating purpose. She's out there speaking about Zach. She has a lawsuit. A judge said she's allowed to go ahead and sue TikTok. Okay. We have other lawsuits pending through our friends, National Center on Sexual Exploitation, with X, Twitter, where kids were groomed. They're not doing enough taking accountability. These tech platforms, they're allowing predators on, they're allowing dangerous algorithms. So there's a lot of hope. That's what I'm pointing out to you. A lot of good things, but I need all of you. I can't do it just alone. Natasha says, justice for Virginia and all victims. Think about that as we sign off here at the Warriors. Think about the children. Think about the young people. Think about they didn't ask for any of this. This was thrown at them and thrown at us. But we have to be the mentors. We have to be the strong ones. We have to be the warriors. And with that, thank you always for all the donations, all the items you send, all when you offer to volunteer. We have so many things coming up in the fall. I'm going to need help. Number one thing, when I put out a call to action and say, please sign on to our AI moratorium, it's going to be a battle with Congress. We know this. We are going to fight it tooth and nail. There are going to be hundreds of us across the country. We need you. We'll do all the work, but we need you to sign on. So let me let everybody go. Honor our warriors hashtag community creates change. And when you wake up each and every day, which is what I like to say to you, do something that makes you feel good, but always wake up and go out and be a warrior. Thanks, everybody.